Hey, what's good? Thomas Roach is a construction worker, a husband, and a father that is spending the rest of the weekend celebrating his daughter's high school graduation. Not only is Thomas a grassroots candidate, but he's also someone that's running as an independent. Born and raised in Colusa, California, he's leveraging his life experience to make a run for California's 4th district. This is my conversation with Thomas Roach. Before we get into it, remember to go to coconutjustice.com to get you some clothes that I think would look good on you. Let's go. Hey, everybody. When I tell you that my life is wonderful, I mean it. Because how many people do you know that can actually reach out to folks that are running for office in their district and be able to talk to them over coffee and just getting to know them like the real them? Because, when you're on CNN and MSNBC or whatever the hell they call it now, you get like 10 seconds to prove that you're not a jerk. But you guys, I want you to meet Thomas Roach, running for California's 4th district. Hey, Thomas.
Carlos, thank you very much. That was a perfect description of what is going on. Here we are able to just converse, and I've never felt so comfortable about it, and I appreciate what you're doing. And like I was telling you earlier, it's a much needed part of our community is what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like, we were talking about this, we were touching on this like right before we started recording, and it's like there's this established process to becoming a lawmaker, and it just seems like for 54 years I've seen everyone complaining about the same exact thing.
Exactly.
And here 54 years later we're still complaining about the same exact thing.
No,
Prices are too high, cops are too rough on the minorities, there's no jobs, but they keep telling us that if you vote for me we're going to do something different, but then nothing different ever happens. So I appreciate your efforts. That's me talking too much. I appreciate your efforts, like coming out of your just regular life to try to make positive change.
Dude, you're like what they call oil in the food industry. You're calorie dense. You're saying a lot in like 3 words. So here I'm like, yeah. But what you just said wraps it up. We have a situation, and we'll just start off. We'll just call, and I'm not Johnny Thesaurus, but perennial issues. And they come to you, and God, we don't want to criticize someone that comes up, hey, I'm trying to help you, and everything. And you're like, oh, thank you for coming here. But like you said, but as soon as you start to question the apparatus, the system, all of a sudden it gets straight voodoo. They're like, oh, you wouldn't understand this. Oh, watch out, buddy. Don't want to touch that 30. All these fucking warnings from a guy that just said, hey, I don't know shit either, but I'm going to go there to help you. And all of a sudden he's Johnny Genius. Hey, everybody stay back. Don't warn me off of anything. We're in this together. I didn't vote for you to, fight my fights. I just, early on, I want you to say, hey, Thomas Roach would like to see some of this. But when the time comes to get into it, call me. I'll be there for you. You don't fight my fight. You just represent me. And that's the thing. We're not represent. I don't know what they're doing over there.
Yeah.
But you just summed it up. The whole thing. I mean, look at the budget of, or the deficit spending of our budget. Whatever. We'll just round it off to 1967. I don't know the exact years, but almost to a T, it's 20 to 28% more than we make. Someone talked to these guys and said, they'll be acceptable of a 20% overdraft, but we've never paid debt down. Yeah. And then you look at the problems you just talked about. all of that stems from our government trying to like tell us what to do or how, we're going to fix this for 7 billion, and it never happens.
And it never happens.
Never.
And that's one of the things that I, when I talk to you guys, I say, the homelessness problem in California is a really good example because everyone points to it as a failure in California. And for me, it's like, trickle down doesn't trickle down. Like, for some reason, the money
Trickle up
that's
doesn't
supposed to be
trickle up
spent
either.
on these people
Right.
just never quite reaches the people.
Was never
So
intended to.
how would we make sure that all of these billions and trillions of dollars actually go to where to solve the problem that exists?
As that framed as a question is no shit. How do we do that type deal? Go talk to the Salvation Army. They run through some people. They're trying to help these guys, but one little. I shouldn't say little. I'm just saying they have rules. You break the rules, on delay, bud. But that the thing that when going back to when you started out talking about politicians say, hey, we're going to solve this, and this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the guy that invented the outline, but all I know is you draw a line down and then there's like 3 here and then, it extrapolates out. So homeless is, good. It's like, God, that ADHD. I'm probably the guy that believes in, there's something up with some of us that it's not nonconformity or whatever it is, but it is. But as soon as I start talking, in fact, I have a nephew that's, spectrum up like a genius, though, calls me Gordon Ramsay. That's the only reason he likes me now. So I have to yell at him and hit him with spatulas, but that broke our bond. And I was like, holy shit, we would have never, cause I was always like, oh, hey, Uncle Thomas loves you.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about that. So if we could truly talk about substrates and, what the definition is of homeless, I'm down with it. But we're not going to throw cash at it. You know what I mean? I got saved not by cash. I got saved by old ladies that played cards with my mother and were concerned. And they didn't they saw my bullshit a mile away. They're just like, because I used to be one of those people that I was like, just waiting for the person to quit talking. I'm like, great seeing you. Thank you.
Yeah.
But your issue has to be solved by you, like 75% of it, whatever. I don't even know the number, but you need help. And that's where you could help the homeless. But like what they're doing, we're going to build whatever 40,000 miniature homes. Are you kidding me, bro? You know what I mean? Like that just benefits whoever's charging you 800 grand for a miniature house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to find out within that structure, there's elements, everybody talks about the mental illness. Everybody talks about drug use, the whole abuse issue, I think accounts for, and I throw numbers like I know them, but they're all made up. But I would say 38% of homelessness is because someone is so abused that they have to leave their shelter. They can't take it anymore.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. There's a Nordic country.
There's only 4 of them, so.
Yeah, it's one of them that has pretty much solved homelessness, and what they're doing is a lot like what I was reading. Utah did something similar to this, where you would have a house or an apartment, whatever. You would have housing, but you would also have a social worker connected to you and this house. So they would help you get your act together, whatever that act might be.
Yeah.
And 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 then you find stable footing for your life, and then you're able to move forward. Um,
That's the
because
answer right there.
if you're homeless and you're looking for a job, the first thing they ask you is your address and your phone number. If you don't have either one of those, how do you qualify for a job?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's so, we can't fault the whole deal of, so you're an employer, well, I need to know where to send your check, all that. I mean, there's valid reasons.
Yeah.
But if we start off, what's the word? Reverse engineer. That's the greatest, whatever, it's not the greatest, but it provides for us an avenue that's rarely thought of. So, you know, basically you want that cat to be doing whatever it is you wish him to be doing. So let's just say mow lawns or something.
Sure.
You need them behind the mower going.
Yeah.
So we're not worried about his address. We're worried about getting him doing that, him or her.
Right.
Now let's work on those things. Like, hey, and I get it that you need a phone. You need, because how are we going to get a hold of you? Type
Yeah.
thing. Well, for right now, you're not. But
Right.
if I'm here, this is what we're doing. And I think if we look at that part of the employment thing of can he do the job? And then let's worry about the other bullshit. We just assumed that meant you could do a job because I went through a couple, they said, well, you have to have a reliable car. It's like, okay, I hope it's reliable, but that that represented a whole subsection of things. So if you have a phone, that means you pay your phone bill. You
Mhm.
do that, what I mean? So we allowed that kind of like from 77 to 92 people, that was like the stamp of approval. Like people would say, your power bill, that's a perfect one.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, I don't need any power, homie. I'm homeless. I plug in at Safeway. So that, as valid it is, and that's another thing. I don't like the whole villain, subject of when people are like, oh, you can't say that and everything. Well, I just did. What I mean? I'm not saying it's, gospel, but we have to find a way to redefine what we are doing. Just like
Yeah.
when we talked about homeless, there's substrates to it and there's a lot to it. Let's not be embarrassed by our ignorance, but the fact that back in the day, we thought paying your power bill was a good ass measurement.
Yeah.
People like that. Does not apply in the situation of a homeless person. That's it.
Yeah. They don't look at money the same way we do. They don't look at
Not at all.
they don't look at this game, this capitalism game, that the same way we do.
Exactly.
No. Yeah. What so you're running for California's 4th district. What made you want to run for House of Representatives?
That I wish I go over this in my head all the time.
Yeah.
I can almost, like be emotional about it. It starts out, and then there's the funny part of it too, because we just said, hey, AOC beat the shit out of whoever he is. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Everybody talks shit about her. Oh, she won.
Yeah.
And that's the initial part. And just because I don't look that cute, I said, I want to be the AOC of the West. But to the foundation of it, I'm not represented. My data sets, I hope we get into that too. But let's just say how I'm labeled in society. I've been married. I think that's the part. And a lot of it is I can't do what I want. And that, like, to I see, my daughter graduated last night.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, time flies.
It
But it's one
does.
of those things, like I live in a small town and, you could protect people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the mow the lawn tomorrow thing. I always thought, you know, I'll deal with this tomorrow. And then it
Yeah.
came up on me, she had like a senior project this year. I'm like, oh, honey, that's heavy duty. She wrote a play, and I mean, I could go into that for a million things. It was someone who has been involved with like New York plays, like a
Yeah.
legitimate, not from Calusa, but from Calusa. At the very end, she said, bold decision, and I'm like, but going back to it, I want to be able to hand the baton to my daughter's generation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what have I done? I've taken advantage of, and quite well, you know what I mean? Like, I could read a room of what has been provided to me. So think of our parents, how hard they worked and the whole get down of the American dream. It was free money for us. I had every opportunity ever. And
Huh.
the only thing that bothered me was me. I've never been harmed by anybody else. But that point of everybody being upset about the redistricting, hey, that's the greatest thing ever. They're like, dude, it's the worst thing ever. I think our district's like, that's how it should be, just a belt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I truly believe that I relate to everyone in this strip. I would have gone a little higher up into the Sierras,
Yeah.
but I've gone to Sonoma County. I've gone to, trying to reach out to people because I'm trying to run a campaign that is not normal. And it's a shared experience. I work in construction, so I'm working with these 22-year-old kids, almost to a T, 85% Hispanic. And they're
Yeah.
like, I want to contribute like my grandparents did. I was like, God damn, that's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
Where I was, my grandparents came here, as tenant farmers and, worked their way up, planted trees for 4 cents a piece and all, you hear all these stories. I didn't have that struggle. I didn't have a struggle.
Yeah.
My struggle was, that's our whole mental health thing right there. My struggle was me, I was the problem.
Yeah.
So going back to the whole, they announce, redistricting. So bam, I'm looking up who's our congressman and nothing, I'm not a disparaging guy. I'm not trying to, I do talk shit, but that's because I love you type thing. But Mike
I
Thompson
get that.
is, you know, intelligent, capable, everything about him. Dude's like Forrest Gump too, with the whole, he's got the Purple Heart, and then, he comes back from Vietnam and saves the life of the most, you know, perfect old lady in Yountville. And, I mean, you can't knock him about it.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, he is on the House Ways and Means Commission. You're a powerful person. You should start changing things for your district. Who do you represent? So it's a perfect example. You have, whatever, we'll just run it at 58% of your population is picking grapes, running irrigation lines.
Yeah.
There's your goddamn constituents. What have you done for them lately? And then that's going back to it after we cheers me for being the AOC of the West. We're like, holy fuck, we are not represented. And then it started with the middle class. And then, you have these, and I'm a fan of the brainstorm. We're like, well, what is the middle class? So they double the medium income. That puts you at 162,000. I was like, that's the fucking high end of middle class. I look at my neighbor with his ski boat, and I love that dude. You know what I mean? But it's better to have a friend with a boat than to own a boat type deal. But that dude's blasting out like 320 grand a year or whatever. I'm not his accountant, but I mean,
Yeah.
he is hustling and doing it. He isn't even the top of the middle class. And we're
Yeah.
like, holy shit, the middle class needs to be redefined. And
Yeah.
then that started me where it became like a passionate thing. I'm like, we are not represented. And it scared me too, going back to my daughter. I'm like, holy shit, I'm acting like I know what's up, and I'm not acting like I know what's up.
Yeah.
And that's what started, it's here we are. And from Calusa, we're the most marginalized motherfucker in this whole district. I think we're bringing what, 13,000 votes or something.
Calusa, yeah. When we first
Sorry to
started
get
talking,
sideways
you
on
said
that, but
Calusa.
it's,
Do you know where that is? I said, no, not even.
dude, I went to karate camp. We slugged people for that thing. But the best part is, if you've ever had sushi, all your sushi rice, well, a little bit of Sutter County too. We grow the best sushi rice in the world.
Oh, nice.
We also grow a shitload of bananas. But you're right, everywhere I've been, but I've loved it, to be
Yeah.
undercover like that. People are Calusa. I'm like, it's a county too. In fact, we should get
Yeah.
shirts that say that. And and it used to be a hella county. Back in the day, it incorporated Glenn and Tehama County. It
Yeah.
was a big ass county. And
It's
basically
pretty.
it came from like Spanish land grants and all that,
Yeah.
that uh that is the definition of our area, is that someone came here and like reestablished what's going on, because there was nobody looked like me hanging out here at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And even the early part of it. So representation is tough because I'm the most whitest cat walking, but all of a sudden I have a relationship with 22-year-old Mexican dudes from, everybody says they come from the best place in Mexico, but we related right away, and then right away I'm like, well, then why aren't you married? They're like, well, you got to make sure. I'm like, she made your lunch, homie. I'm just saying. And that part of what we had in common, I mean, I just had a epiphany, I'm like, holy shit, if we would just cross off the list of what we say we have a problem with. Like, you and I can make a list right now.
Oh, that's easy.
And I call that the mow lawn tomorrow. Like, I'll say that 1,000 times today. I never mow the lawn tomorrow.
Yeah.
So when I say, hey, we'll talk about this shit we disagree with tomorrow, I'm not going to fucking make that meeting. I mean, I would, just to be hanging out, but I'm just saying, we have 68% agreement on what we need. My hospital's in dire need of,
Yeah.
funding. I think they run it poorly, and I think the way the federal government tells them to run it, Glenn County, same thing.
Yeah.
I can agree on that, and I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, if you need another 10% for me, I'm good. I need a hospital here though.
Yeah. Yeah. How about schools? What are schools like out there in Calusa?
I'm gonna start crying again. Uh, So I'm at my house right now. We're on the 7 block. My daughter, walked to school, all through elementary, but I've benefited from public education. I love public education. Part of
Yeah.
that is because the socialization, or how,
Sure.
I'm not trying to force it on anybody, but it's not a bad gig. The faults within the system, I can't argue, especially you have like someone that is, and the whole world's smarter than me. And so you have to recognize when someone says, bam, bam, this is not right. I can't argue that. But my daughter's teachers, upper level, we're
Yeah.
talking like echelon type shit. And the sad thing is, being in a small town, especially with younger teachers, you're not going to want to come to Calusa. I mean, the place shuts down at 8 o'clock. You're trying
Yeah.
to like go and relax with some like-minded individuals. There's
Yeah.
maybe 7 here, and one of them's like not cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's tough to be a teacher in Calusa. I get it. Most of them live in Chico. But going back to your question, I'm a fan of public education 100%, because it is developing other things other than, what we're learning.
Yeah.
And I think it's super important to learn how to deal with people, to get along. And this is not going to go over right, but there's a time when people need to get fucking punched in the lip. Straight up answers more problems than we'll ever know in life. In fact, we have, when Mia was probably kindergarten, I noticed this chart, they'd have on the wall at the top. There's like, the super stellar. It's always a girl too. Best kid in the world, wish we had 7.
Yeah.
It's a bell curve, bro. That's it. Here we are. And
Right.
in the middle, there's super helpful guy or whatever, what I mean? Like
Sure.
always is willing to help. And at the bottom was parental contact. Oh, I fell in love with those guys.
Yeah.
And last night, the cat that was on the, he was the parental contact king. Every parent conference thing I went on, I was like, there's my guy right there. I think he had a stamp made, he's just, dude, he's exceptional. And I did
Yeah.
say, it was about 6th grade when COVID hit. I remember COVID, I said, this guy's either going to kill everybody or solve the world. And he's going to solve the world,
Yeah.
but that represents, public education. You have to deal, there's bullies and, I don't want anybody to feel hurt, but fucking feeling hurt is part of life. I'm not, it's an unpleasant conversation. People are, oh, I can't believe you said that. But the bully's going through some shit too. You know what I mean? Everybody needs a
Right.
Snickers,
Right.
and public education allows our children to experience that firsthand. And God bless, I do, my daughter's upper echelon too. There's probably 25K, Calusa has a graduating class of 100, we'll just say in 23. It seemed like a long time last night, but
Yeah.
probably about 35 of them are right there, could have been the top 2 students.
Yeah.
And my daughter has come home every day complaining about the same thing, kind of going back to your political thing. And I'm like, well, solve it, homeboy. You know what I mean? You're there. I'm not there. You know what I mean? But they are better adjusted than my generation. They're
Oh yeah.
accepting and they understand. And
Yeah.
so, going back to the public education, next to parks, greatest thing ever invented. And people that
Yeah.
sit there and want to find fault with it, not right away, should be fucking punched in the lips. But there's another issue if someone has a problem with it.
Yeah, imagine having a school system that's properly funded. You have all the supplies
And
and all the
accounting,
programs
right?
to actually make a proper difference. Um and to pay teachers the important pay them according to the importance of their position in society.
I agree.
And you're going to attract more teachers. You're going to attract more quality teachers. But you can't have your school system in shambles and think that kids are going to be motivated to go to school. Like
No, that's that voodoo shit. When you go to question, they're like, oh, fuck, you would never understand this. Well, fucking explain it to me then, because I'm here for the duration. I
yeah.
won't eat until I understand this. And
Yeah.
but I agree, oh,
Handing the
but
keys off
that's
to the
life or
lady from
something.
the
Cause
WWE is not the answer. I know that for a fact.
no. And that's the thing. If you're going to tell me that I don't understand, I have to somewhat agree with that shit. What am I supposed to say? I mean, I act like I know everything, but okay. But when it comes to I start crying again. When it comes to something we care about, all of a sudden we're listening. I go to the parent teacher nights.
Yeah.
You see everybody, and there's like 7 of us that, we're like, God, we should have brought a beer, ha, ha, But once you bring up the thing that matters to this guy,
Yeah. He
he's like,
pays
hey,
attention.
Yeah, because, you know, Roach is telling him a story about 7th grade or something when I was here, and he's like, hey, this is about my kid. And that's when I was like, holy shit, that's real. You know, like right away, I respect it and I'm like, sorry. I'll tell you later, you know, but that is a common core part of our lives. And, you know, I always talk about the Democratic and Republican thing. God bless them, you know, but the whole identity politics is so like left field. The, the hard, what we agree on is so important. The binding, you know, that part. And I don't even like, I could not want to even ever be next to this person in my life. But he says, hey, someone's messing with my daughter. Let's get him. You know, I mean, I'm in.
I mean, you know.
But I never want to be on a bus with this guy. You know, I mean, never. Never. And because I've been in the position, you know, usually if you're asking somebody for help, there's a sense of panic that's behind it.
Sure.
You know, I'm not trying to have a debate of why I need help. You know,
Yeah.
I work in construction, so I call it the ladder theory. I just need a ladder, but I don't have one. You know, people, why you need one? Fucking to be higher than I am right now. You just, you know,
there's a
but
work to
that
be
part
done.
of going back to public education and everything to community. I don't care what this person says. That person, you know, like they need help right now. In fact, I have a great neighbor 2 doors down and, you know, dude's pretty hardcore, you know, not super mega, but I mean, like, you know, he's like, let's change this thing. I'm like, I'm in. I go, but what happens if shit hits the fan? And he said, well, how are you going to support me if I don't have something you want? We're talking about if it just all folded in the barter system. I'm like, you're my neighbor, bro. Down the road, there's got to be something. You know, I mean, it's going to happen. We're neighbors. We have common problems.
Yeah.
And he really, in the most polite way, dismissed me because he felt that I would like, you know, like, oh yeah, you're out. You don't have anything we need today. And I was like, dude, that's offensive. He's like,
But your background is in construction. I've been talking to you for 31, 32 minutes, and I know you're in construction. I know that you know some things.
I went to karate camp for fucking 3 summers, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think I know a lot of things, but yeah, I exactly. I think I could contribute.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not today, but there's got to be something down the road. You know, when there's a leak or something.
Yeah. When his house starts getting weak.
And this guy's a super good dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And that's the thing.
Super good dude.
And that's the thing. I've talked to a lot of conservative minded folks. And for the most part, we agree on most everything. If you say, for example, if you go around your neighborhood and you say, don't you think we need a better equipped hospital? Everyone's going to be like, yeah, we do.
Exactly.
You say, don't you think the kids need better schools? They're going to say, yeah, we do. Don't you think the kids need a library and things to do so they don't get in trouble? Everyone's going to say, yeah. Everything past that, past the structure of help, I guess, you know, of support, better said.
Right.
The structure of support, past that, it's just like, now you're just being picky, you know, like,
yeah, you nailed it.
You're trying to separate what it is to be an American. And some folks have the picture of an American as a white dude, and other people know that it's just a blend of everything.
Right. No,
but if you have a structure built where everyone can succeed and everyone can share their stories and everyone can learn from each other, you're going to learn that all this other stuff that you see on the news that separates it, like you're talking about, the bullies and all that stuff, and the neighbors that don't quite see eye to eye with you. It's not It's not that difficult. You're just being hard-headed, and once everyone is on the same page and there's a structure that helps you succeed, everyone's going to see that their neighbor is amazing, and they're going to see that their neighbor is
Absolutely.
helpful in case all hell breaks loose, like you guys were talking about.
No, that and exactly. But exactly. And once again, dude, you are rich in your expressions. I love it.
I'm calorie dense. I'm gonna make a
Calorie
t-shirt.
dense. Hey, calorie dense is real. But that, and there you go. That's, I don't know that, and I've caused problems, and I don't, I feel like I mean, I cause problems. I
How do you
enjoy it
cause
though. You know what I mean?
problems? You seem like a super nice guy. What
Yeah,
problems
that's the whole
do
fucking
you
gig. If you're going to
cause?
cause problems, you have to look like that.
And it
You know what I
depends
mean?
on the
Like you have to,
problems too, because I think we need some rabble rousers in
no, I can
Congress these
fucking solve
days.
problems too though. Because I know, like I said, I have, like my third grade teacher, Mrs. Elliger, called me on my shit like day one,
Yeah.
and I always, and it's crazy because she looked the same, she was like 92 when I make up numbers though, so don't
She
fucking,
was 92 for 30 years.
yeah, it looked like it too. Like I'm a weathered motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like, I'm 58 and people are like, what happened? Mrs. Helliker, though, was a badass teacher that, if you're a teacher, bro, you see the people coming through. They're the best filter. Like going back to that, God, I got to get that thing, whatever it is, how we label kids, which is cool. I'm not trying to get rid of it. And if anybody gets rid of it, I'll slug you too. But the, Mrs. Helliker saw the people coming through, and
Yeah.
she always went out of her way. And God, I can name so many. Like I said, there was a couple older dudes. I don't want to leave them out, but the older ladies in my town, because I was polite as a kid. I was like that kid on Leave It to Beaver that was nice to everybody or whatever. But they went out of their way when I was a little sideways to just like, when are you gonna, get your shit together? Like tomorrow,
Yeah.
we're gonna mow the lawn too. uh, but that support system is so huge because especially women, and I'm not trying to pick a side here, but if you look at everything of the minority of the like disadvantages, let's say, of not being in the crowd. So
Yeah.
like you're looking at the whitest guy in America right here. If there is white privilege to be had, I've overserved. I went to a hometown buffet on white privilege. But I didn't know that. You know what I mean? I wish someone had explained it. Dude, I could have rode that wave like a fucking champ.
Yeah.
Just saying, can't get whiter than me. But when it boils down to, for sure, women have towed the line and just put up with the bullshit for
Oh,
longer. And I'm not taking away
yeah.
from, there's all these segments of everybody. And that's what, we're getting into now as everybody goes, well, what about me? Hey, dude, you're here. I'm with you. But we just have to say hardship is hardship. And we're not going to, well, you can make every label you want, but I'm not going to, like be there for every meeting. But women, since, the whole voodoo thing where men convince them that they're better, what a fucking joke that is. Whatever. I don't even know how they sold that, but they have calmly, patiently put up with our shit and waited till the moment. They save the day. They feed more people. They save more people and all that. So
Yeah.
they know the patience
Yeah.
and they believe, oh, that's the thing. They believe. And when you see Mrs. Helliker weaving her way through and you're like, fuck, here she comes. Hi, Mrs. Helliker. She cares about you.
Yeah.
I could list 50 names of, like Raylene Liss is another person in our town that weaved her way through. You're just trying to be polite at the local function. And here she comes. And she's dead serious.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to, they're like, when you're ready to mow the lawn tomorrow, you know,
Yeah.
and you're like, God damn it. They got me, but that's what saved me. That's what brings you back. That's the thing. You finally mowed the lawn is the thing.
Yeah.
And you have people in the community just like them. They didn't do it for you. They didn't help you, going back to our government assistance and all that shit. But they come and pat you on the back and they said, I knew you could do it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge deal for, going back to kids and everything, to have someone when you finally, get straight to someone to say, I knew you could do it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you do feel left out. And that, going back to the alienation of groups and all that, I get it. You feel left out. I've never felt left out. Well, I take that back. But I put myself in the positions where I felt left out.
Sure.
There is, an element to it though, and you don't realize it. We all think my struggle's way more important than yours. And then you see these like Somali guys, taking boats across, the whole world, or the suits. Who is it that was Syria? Those cats carried their shit to Europe. And you're like, holy shit. I'm complaining about things that don't matter. You know what I mean? Like the struggle is real in humanity,
Yeah.
but it is within ourselves that we, manifest it and all that. What I
Yeah.
mean? It's our own problem. And
Well, we
going
all
back to the
have,
whole community side, it helps to have people that are supportive,
right.
that your neighbors, simply
Right.
as that.
Right. I think there's some of us that have forgotten that, I understand some folks thinking that, oh, I built this company all by myself and I did this thing all by myself. And you have to say, no, you didn't really,
No,
because there was other people that built the road that you're driving on. There's other people that are running the lights that are keeping you from crashing into other people. There are other people that are doing other things for you in support of your efforts to create this company, you know?
right. The
Uh,
efficiency of all those things, that contribution, we take
yeah,
for granted. I think
right.
who was it? I think Obama, someone like that. And then they flipped it on him.
Yeah,
He's like, you didn't fucking build that, and
right.
people are like, hold on, I did build this.
Yeah,
And then, and that's another thing. We could get into that, this whole idea that socialism, capitalism, there's this fine line, this
yeah,
definite, with the finest tooth comb that
yeah.
parts it.
And it's not.
Fuck you.
It's
Fuck
not.
you.
It's
You're
all
so
gray
wrong.
area. Yeah.
We don't even talk about going back to the women, like in my town, you have a fundraiser. We have I'm sure every city has Lions Club.
Yeah.
And dude, every fundraiser there is, they're the ones cooking the meal. So I belong to a couple groups, in Calusa. We're like, we're going to have a fundraiser at the park, a concert in the park, all this shit that's going on.
Yeah.
We go there to raise money. Let's just say we bring in $550. Well, they did all the cooking. I think they even bring the hamburgers. You know what I mean? Like that would have been a $700 cost to us. And our group's like, oh, we made $500. Well, Ravlin and Ponciano cooked everything. And there's more people to that. But
Yeah.
we have, what I mean? Like we don't, like what you just said, there's a contribution level that is so important, that is calorie dense,
Hmm.
so meaningful. Like the person that carries that fucking 900-pound thing of beans. I never carried the beans in my life. And then I need help. I'm like, you saw these old ladies, they would just, and you're like, holy shit, bro. Holy shit. The farce about, we have, God, there's this lady, Mrs. Giaconetti, I think she was like, like 4'2" and
Yeah.
probably 4'2" wide, and she would just bring stuff in and you're like, here, let me, like, oh, I couldn't even lift it. And you're like, I take that for granted.
Yeah.
and
Were you born and raised in Calusa?
absolutely.
Yeah. Calusa, hometown boy. What's it
Yeah.
like growing up out there?
Like I said, I didn't realize, looking back on it. But yeah, greatest ride ever in my life. You know what I mean? I'd do it 10 times over.
Yeah.
Everything about it. And then, but like I said, can't get more. The whole white privilege thing is a real deal in its sense. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to give away because you get some fucking white guy that had the roughest life ever. You know what I mean? And they're like, "Oh, well, when they're handing that out, I wasn't there." Yeah, obviously, homie. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
there watching you. So, but in my personal thing, I, benefited. I was able.
Yeah.
I was fed. My parents loved me. The whole gig. I had parents. You know what I mean? Like, uh, I also I'm the youngest, so I mean, I saw right away that deny till you die is a legitimate defense. You know,
Yeah.
I saw where my siblings got sideways, but I mean, literally, my siblings are work ethic, upper echelon, people like they were all, I don't even, whatever they won. And I, came in later and I was like, you can just skip a lot of this. And I think that, hurt me in the long run. But,
Yeah.
going back to it, I think of my teachers, they tried to tell me, like, hey, you got lucky on this.
Yeah.
Uh, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of counting on that shit the rest of my life. But there is a benefit to this type of community. Like I said, little league, every aspect of it. The lessons that are important in life, I learned from people that I went to school with. I grew
Yeah.
up with strong women, strong girls.
Yeah.
Uh, I grew up, I don't want to ever leave anybody out, but Norma Valdez and Rosalinda Mendoza were probably the most badass chicks walking the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Because I saw it, I knew they were, lessened by being women, and the whole Mexican connection. But I grew up Catholic. I'm not a practicing. I mean, I'm down with Jesus, but I'm not down with organized religion, really.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
but I had like one of my uncles was a Jesuit priest, badass dude, studied banking in China. And I was like, why? You know what I mean? That's not saving souls. But you get it with the
A
Jesuits.
Jesuit priest studying finances in China.
He was in China before a lot of I'm just saying but the Jesuits were laced up with the Chinese forever, like way back in the day. The
Yeah.
Jesuits would come and learn your culture and hang out with you. They didn't like try to change you. They
That's pretty
assimilated, took
cool.
their 10% and gave you one of these.
Yeah.
But going back to it, I grew up with, so I have two sisters, badasses. I have an older brother. My mom's a badass. My dad was, what I mean? They were contributors and everything. And
Yeah.
I definitely took advantage of my position, or however you wish to say it. I was well aware of it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was, like, oh, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Well
Yeah.
aware of it. But lo and behold, when you go to play soccer with Mr. Deese, another guy that, you know, came to our channel and changed shit, uh, y- you saw it, all of a sudden, guess what? Right? White privilege doesn't exist on the soccer field, bro. You know what I mean?
Either you can play or you
It
can't.
doesn't. It's like go to the 70s in Oakland and, express your white privilege. It doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
we can be aware of things. So going back to, like Mr. Deese asked me to play soccer. I was like, I don't play soccer. That's like immigrant shit. You know what I mean? Like, or French, even worse. Like,
Yeah.
but that was my mindset. I was like, I wouldn't even want to be thought of as a soccer player. I was, a basketball player, football, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then he's like, oh, and I just remember the sincerity. He's like, you're missing the greatest thing ever, and you would be good at it. And I was just like, hold on, what? So I was a goalie, and it turns out
Oh,
we have
nice.
these phenomenal players. Literally, like My first year, I had like 3 shots on goal. I'm like, just let them through. I just want one diving save. But I just hung out. I just wore my gloves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like everybody was, but I grew up, so I grew up with a lot of people, every ethnicity, I mean, like Fiji, Colombian, Mexican, uh, everyone was,
Yeah.
well, not everyone, but for the most part. But we had strong women in our town. And that was, I think we're lucky. I'd
Yeah.
hate to be, different. In fact, one of our best, whatever, I don't want to blow her out of proportion, but uh, one of the better lobbyists, we'll say, in Sacramento right now. And she married the dude that wrote or redistricted, like drew the map, let's say,
Yeah.
of this is from Calusa, and right there,
Oh, nice.
yeah, what I mean? And I don't know exactly, but her mother and father came here. I don't know. We were probably like third grade, I want to say, but
Yeah.
like mixed ethnicity, however you say that in a perfect way, because I don't know exactly what it is, but basically we'll say in a, way Asian.
Hmm.
Uh, and her sister was like a super badass gymnast, like super nails, uh, someone that was way better than everybody else.
Hmm.
And you don't know what's going on at people's kitchens table, their dinner table or whatever, but it must have been something phenomenal in their house because they're overachievers, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's the thing includes that everybody. I'm not saying everybody had it because I'm not trying to, people had rough lives here too. We had some
Sure.
super rough lives here. And but even those people like knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
And I
it's
think that's the part that small towns have is because you know your neighbor a little more, you can have a rough life, but there's still that support system there. People actually care about you.
so true. I mean, you're held accountable. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's like Mrs. Helliker coming up to you and saying, "I knew you could do it."
Yeah.
You know,
And for a kid coming up,
oh fuck
that's words of encouragement like that will make the difference.
everything. And that's the thing. We try to like label that or brand that, and make it into something. And there's the tough part. And then going back to what we first said about, how do you help people? You just have to be there when they need it, but you can't do anything for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that especially, like you think of nutrition, that whole gig of, that's super important. And you think of the
Yeah.
people that, we talk about oil is calorie dense. It is, but not for a month straight. It's not nutritional.
Right.
And,
Right.
saturation does not mean absorption. I don't care how long you want to sit there in the bath. It doesn't matter. Uh, it has to be the receiving part of it is important. God, I think of people, people we knew had it rough. And this is a stereotypical thing, and I hate to say it this way, but it's funnier and shit. The people, that their dad was smoking when they dropped out of school, and they're like, and don't fucking be stupid or you know what I mean? Like, but as a kid, I'm walking, I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. But that's all that guy probably heard all day, and that's sad,
Yeah.
that negative, you know, and here,
Yeah, but back in the day, like dads weren't tapped in the way that they are these days. Like we
yeah,
know now we know, we've conquered the frontier. We don't have to worry about, well, we do have to worry about bobcats and coyotes and shit, but not as much as we used to. So dads had to, before, mom would be taking care of the kids in the house and the dad was out,
yeah.
taming the wilderness.
Well, I think a lot of it is expressing your emotions. Uh,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there was such a think, goddamn, because think about the Marlboro, the Camel no filters was the best. Yeah, they always. But God, my mighty, what they go through as a kid? You know what I mean? Like when we talk about love the bully. I remember, like in Little League, there was this family, and the dad's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You swung at that?" Like, God.
Relax.
Most people are like,
I'm 6.
"Keep your eye on the ball, Junior." This guy's like, God damn. But sincere in it. He was proud of his children and all that, but I remember my mother used to sit next to him, and she just said, it's almost my favorite time, because, he means well type deal. But you think about, we had a guy too, every Friday was a bath and a beating.
Jesus.
And, and
whether or not you needed it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they might have missed something.
Yeah.
And I was at
I've gotten my ass whipped on credit before.
Fundraisers are an interesting gig. You run into people. And I ran into that guy's daughter. And she's like, you're Thomas Roach? She goes, oh, my dad knew your dad. I was like, oh, really? Who was it? And she's like, his name was Clarence. I was like, oh, Bath and a Beating. Because as a little kid, that was, that stuck with me.
Yeah.
But it made sense. Like I was in on it. I was like, you're probably fucking right. Probably did do something you didn't know.
Yeah, but I think I'm not saying to beat your kids. I'm saying every kid responds differently.
Right.
And if you do your job right, the beatings don't need to happen. If you do your job
right, but what are the odds of fucking being 100% as a parent then? So right now we just accepted 38% of beatings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just said it.
Yeah. But that's just it. We also have to equip I'm a big fan of education.
Same here.
All the way from, kindergarten, teaching you colors on into giving you the tools to be a communicative adult.
100%.
Right? So that way, when you break things down for your kids, then that way they know how to express themselves in a way where they're not throwing tantrums. You don't need to give them a bath and a beating. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that there's not a time where you need to like physically correct the behavior.
I'm with you.
Cause I'm somewhat old school on that stuff too. Like sometimes just a little, hey,
a SWAT.
Like snap out of it.
We call it a SWAT.
Yeah. But this shit would like, I'm going to go get a switch from the tree because I'm about to, we got to be done with that. We got to be done with that part.
And the whole idea that I'm expressing other feelings in me, I just take it out on you.
Yeah.
That
because kids pay that price too.
That goddamn so then we would have like a counseling session for everybody. Well, there you go. We all need like an hour a day of just something. Is there something you need to talk about? No, and you can give your hour to the next guy.
And that's the support
you're talking
system.
about beatings and everything. When we talk about calorie dense, there's some density to a beating. If we're on the same page, it's the same. But it's tough. Now we're back to substrates and all this.
Yeah,
you're right. In the long run, we should not beat. But God, if there's an understanding and you get the right SWAT, that's like 6 weeks of knowledge that just got delivered calorie dense.
And some kids, I'm no professional, but I know me. I remember myself as a kid, and again, not that I needed a beating, but a smack on the ass when I was saying bad words outside the church. Like, I get it. Like,
Oh, that's my favorite. as soon as you're out the door. I remember one time I was like, "What about Jesus? Doesn't he see this?" Yeah, but nobody else does. I didn't want to beat you in church. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
don't, and there's the thing, maybe there's the conversation too. And that's the other thing. We don't have conversations. Like, going back to it, I appreciate what you're doing because we need to have a conversation about
Yeah.
everything. And then you get into it. People are like, fuck, I don't have time for this, bro. You know?
Yeah, but right now you might not, but there's time in your calendar because I know for a fact that like anyone anywhere out there, they're going to be sitting in front of the TV
Yeah.
to watch whatever shows float your boat. So I
Well,
know
it's
you have
interesting because,
time. I know you have time to talk and I know you have time to learn,
right.
you know? And it's this communication that we do that to me is democracy. Like democracy, you're
I agree
sharing
100%.
ideas and and so there's a lot of the times that my what do you call it? My calorie dense conversation. Sometimes it's calorie deficient. Sometimes I
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
telling
yeah.
fart jokes and it just doesn't make sense to a lot of people,
Right.
you know?
Oh, that,
But being able to communicate with each other and share ideas, and you say, well, no, Carlos, that's not how it works. And then I say, oh, well, how can we do this better? You know?
right. That's, biggest part of my campaign is right there. We can't find fault if someone, because someone says, well, I disagree with this. That whole villainization thing of, well, you don't care about America then or whatever. Like, hold on, bro. What I mean? So we have to allow for a system of that we disagree and how do we move on next week? How are we going to handle this type thing
Yeah.
instead of that whole, one thing like the billionaire thing, you know what I mean? Let's fucking get over those cats. They did it, whatever happened. But yes, they need to contribute more. They're not going to miss a
Yeah.
meal if they contribute 7 million. You know what I mean? What
This is
and
my,
it's not up to me to think, but to villainize them, the same thing happened with COVID. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing of, you're wrong no matter what you're doing and all this. I, you know, it's fun to think that we know what we're talking about and all that, but we don't know. So let's just have a conversation. So
yeah.
the whole thing of this, this, this finite, there's a book like that. It's called like Infinite Games or something.
Yeah.
Uh, but that part of our human ness that we have to have this final, like, well, then you're not with me final thing.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about beating your kids. Sometimes you're, like, pissed about something else. The kid just happened to get in the way, you know? It doesn't
Yeah. That's
represent,
unfair.
the truth. And, I do it. I do it of the unlucky. So, I have a great wife, great daughter, and they have no problem checking me,
Yeah.
because if I can't find a sock, watch out. You know what I mean? Like, "What's going on in the world?
Who
Everyone's
stole
against me."
my sock?
Exactly. And they're like, "Hey, hey, preacher boy, karate camp guy, shut up." You know what I mean? First of all, but that's the tough part right there is to get through when I'm emotional, I'm
Yeah.
not listening, and
Yeah.
you have to be willing to wait.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
hard part right there. You have to be patient, I guess.
What did your wife and daughter think when you told them you're running for office?
It was weird. I brought it up to him because I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about running for Congress." So I've done, like within my community, I try to integrate and, I'm like on theater board. I'm on our Parks and Recreation and Tree Commission, which is
Oh,
trying to
nice.
be alienated right now. We got a little revolt going on. And then I joined the Planning Commission. And then that's when it kind of got serious. Like people are like, well, fuck, we don't want that guy. What I mean? It was fun though, you know what I mean, to go through that. Uh, but that scrutiny, I think that comes on you from putting your name out there.
Sure.
That's what I said. And they initially, in the first step is we support it. I said, hey, I
Yeah.
don't think we're represented, here's why I'm doing this. And they both, they're like, God damn, I mean, can't you just write a letter to somebody? But they were supportive, but they are, my best critics. Both of them are upper, once again, upper echelon,
Sure.
put up with shit. Like I'm not without reference to the struggles of others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, when I can't find my sock, they're right there for me. Like we all can't find a lot of shit in our lives.
Yeah.
Shut up. You know, you can't act like that. And I don't, there's another thing. So there's a double standard in the whole world. How I am in my house and how I am in public is two different things. The
Oh,
bottom
yeah.
line. I mean, they mix, but I am Eddie Haskell. That's the cat from Leave It to Beaver. I have good manners. I'm pleasant to
Sure.
people. But like I said, the Mrs. Hellikers, that's her name. Mrs. Lieber was my neighbor. And she was, in Mrs. Helliker's class, third grade. She was like a student aide. And, I'd not been here for a while. There's more to my story too. We can cover that in a minute I've, like I said, my causing problems was to a level not super severe, but definitely I was removed from society, we'll say. But Mrs. Lieber has, been a supporter of mine my whole life. So we move across the street from her. God, she's like 89 at the time. She comes bustling over. She's like, "Do you have a real job?" I'm like, yeah, totally, totally. And stuff like that, you appreciate it. But going back to it, when I brought it up to, Mia and Alyssa, I'm like, I think there's a chance here because Doug LaMalfa had died.
Mm-hmm.
And that's funny now you say it because part of that started out, I was reading the big, beautiful bill. I'm like, let's just see what we got here.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they limited on your Roth IRA and all these, like in uh, individual retirement accounts.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy, what the fuck? Who wrote this shit? And not to go after Mike Thompson, but that's the fucking guy that did. He's on the Ways and Means Commission. You motherfucker, you're trying to tell me, first of all, you say I can only contribute $7,000 a year. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
I found out that if you make more, and then it just set me off. I was like looking for anybody. I'm like, who's in charge? But if you make, as an individual, if you make more than 156,000 a year, you can't even contribute to your Roth IRA. And I'm like, God, that is like a severe blow to the middle class. I
Yeah.
mean, I was irate and nobody would listen to me. God, oh, fuck. I couldn't find one audience. I'm like, hey, can you believe this? I thought there would be 50 people behind me with pitchforks, like, we're going to get them. Fucking nobody bought into it at all. And I'm like, maybe I'm not saying it right. And then the best, I could cry for this too. My wife is like, of course you're not, you idiot, but that's, I was like, unbelievable. Look at the restrictions on the middle class. Like, I think of the guy that, that has that pickup that he had in high school. Here we are. I'm 58. That thing's worth like 82 grand now. It's a straight piece of shit. I mean, 3 on the tree. You could sell it. Well, we're in a different, but 4 years ago, you could sell that thing for 85 grand. There's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Seats torn, everything. Some dumbass from Vegas or something has cash for you, but you couldn't put that money in your retirement account. I mean, you finally came up.
Yeah.
And and that's what got me grinding. I'm like, who wrote this? Who thought of this?
Yeah.
And then it just started to roll. And I'm like, holy shit, as a middle class person, we are ripped off. Think if you run a business, you write down your expenses and then report your income. As a construction worker, they take my taxes out before I get my money. I didn't even get to say, hey, I had a shoelace or something. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
expenses, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't get to account for that. In fact, nobody gives a shit. They make me under pressure at the beginning of the year. You mark a box and I'm like, whoa. I'd like time
Yeah.
to think about this.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have time. Mark it now. And as much as those ladies at the front offices, when you get to a new job, they're bullies. You know, you don't got time to. What am I, your counselor, a life planner? And
Yeah.
that's what got me on it. I'm like, then we should be able to write off our childcare for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm contributing to the world. You know, why is it? And thank God that there you go, live in a small town. So I have relatives, my wife's relatives. We have babysitters available, and some people that wouldn't qualify in a normal situation, but because of calorie dense, application of force, we'll let them watch our kid because they know they can't be smashed out driving drunk or whatever. They wouldn't be able to run a daycare, but we need you to watch our kid, and we know you don't have a job, and you're going to watch Mia today. And
Yeah.
they were cool about it. But I'm just saying they would never be able to watch a child in any other circumstance. But we
Yeah.
have that here. Some of our whatever would be considered the worst people I would leave my kids with here. You know what I mean? By society, but that's the part of the community. And
Yeah.
then, you start to convey those things to everybody. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we're getting ripped off
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Like they say, whatever. I'm down with giving people tax breaks to bring in jobs or whatever. I'm just saying.
Sure.
But like Elon Musk, obviously, dude's got it going on. He's catching rockets over there in Texas and boring holes and, doing it way out there more than anybody.
Yeah.
But Tesla paid zero income tax. That can't be
That's
right.
insane.
I'm just saying. And I know it's incentives. Like they shot this shit to him like 20 years ago. They're like, fuck, if you build this factory and hire this many people, dude got it. I'm not faulting him for it. But let's learn from that and not ever have that happen again. Because that's literally like 184 billion on the low end. That's like on 4%.
Yeah.
That could have been taxed. And on the high end, it's 380 billion, 420. Not to get on his 420 thing, but I'm just saying we missed out off $500 billion in tax money.
That's
I
wild.
mean, come on, man.
That's
Who
wild.
missed that? And so, God damn, I could get sideways on this stuff, but I would like those same things as a middle class person. Let me know. Like if my daughter gets, B's or better, that means
Yeah.
I'm doing something right. Right. Do I get
Yeah.
something for that? That type of thing. So when Amazon comes into your community and said, hey, if these things happen, can we get this back? That's what Tesla did. If these
Yeah.
things happen, can I get some incentive? That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Incentivize the middle class. If your kid goes to college, bam, write 20 grand off your dude, college. Holy shit. My daughter. Oh, she's so smart. You almost wish you didn't have a smart kid or they were not good at sports
Yeah.
because that's 60 grand a year.
That
God
is
forbid your kid's good at
bananas.
soccer, bro. 35 grand out the door.
Yeah.
God forbid you have two kids that are good at gymnastics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And
going
that's
back to it,
just the
I'm super
schooling.
glad.
That's not even the extra training and the extra equipment. And it
Yeah, if you
goes,
win something, you got to
there's a
fly to
lot of
Tennessee
money
to
that goes
fucking
into
compete.
having a constructive member of building a constructive member of society.
Thank you. So we should be able to write that off. All I'm saying. If my
Yeah.
daughter gets to Grand National Championship balance beam, whatever it is,
Sure.
I should be able to write that off. That was an expense. So going back to my daughter, she really wanted to go to New York.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't even
Is
care.
she creative? Is she an artist of sorts, or is she?
She is so well-rounded. It's insane. She is. So her senior project, she wrote a play.
Oh,
I
hell yeah.
told you I'm on the board for a theater company here. So I said, come
Yeah.
present it to us. Well, we'll support you and everything, but what I
Yeah.
mean? Just come on, and a couple, whatever. Everybody's hardcore in our theater group. I love everybody on it, but
That's
some
awesome.
are a little less tolerant of bullshit. Let's just say. So they're like, well, it better be a comedy because That's the only thing that sells tickets. Oh,
Oh,
Mia was looking down. She looked up and she goes, it's definitely not a comedy. I was
yeah.
like, holy fuck. That was, you know, and I'm trying not to be. Anyway, wrap it all up. You know, every day I'm like, can I help you with dialogue? We've been in our first play together was quite a long time ago. And I've been in a couple here too. But I'm like, hey, you know, I'm a professional, honey. I can help you. She goes, I don't want your influence because you always try to influence me. And I do, you know what I mean? I'm trying to win. I'm a lobbyist type deal, you
Yeah.
know, and I want to be the lobbyist for the middle class. But I never read it. I never read it. One time, emergency phone call. She's like, I don't know why she calls me Tongi. I think it's like some weird, like, you know, Japanese cartoon thing. Anyway, she's like, Tongi, I need you to print this script. And I'm like, well, homie, I'm pouring concrete right now. You know what I mean? How are we going to do this? Anyway, long story short, she goes, but don't read it. I was like, oh,
You're
you know, you're
killing me,
holding
kid.
true.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did not know the dialogue to this. And so to give you a little backup too, she's like, you know, super A student, biology, advanced play, you know, everything,
Nice.
math, the whole gig, like gets it way better than me and it's way smarter than me, way better than me type things 1,000 times. Anyway, the first line in this play, I mean, everybody, because nobody knew what, you know, I mean, we get 80 people. That's a pretty good crowd at our theater. And literally the whole crowd went, like their heads went back, like, holy shit. So it's this Greek tragedy type thing.
Yeah.
I'll try to wrap it up quickly, but they're slaves or whatever. Then they have a ritual that they, all your worries and everything you grant to this rabbit. Then they let the rabbit go and it takes off. And there went your worries. Well,
Oh,
this
wow.
cat's dad had fucking left or whatever. And so he's a little angry and someone said something to him. He kills a rabbit in the very beginning. Everybody's like, oh my God, you're the worst person ever. Dude, I didn't watch this. I'm like, God damn, this is like the first 3 minutes. So he carries the rabbit the whole time with him and going to give it a proper burial or whatever. And then there's tragedy throughout the whole thing. And
Yeah.
at the very end, he looks at the rabbit, he throws it down. And the spotlight comes down and narrows on that rabbit. Like I said, everybody's like, holy shit. So to answer your question, she is hella artistic. We just never focus on that because she was smart and, you know, a hard worker and
Yeah.
follows the rules, bro. Never done anything wrong. You know,
That's outstanding.
never.
That's
And
outstanding.
that's the thing, you know, I try to, you got to be supportive of that. I was not that
Yeah.
person. And it's cool though. I think that helps us in a sense, you know, that because, you know, I'm like, I'd wrecked like 5 cars, you know, by the time I was 13 or something, you know, that's an exaggeration, but I'm just saying
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
she
But
doesn't,
I mean, this growing up in the 70s were different.
it was,
It's
I
completely
would
different.
shit upon anybody though.
Yeah.
It was the funnest time ever.
Yeah. Yeah. This is back. Yeah. This is back before. This is back when kids could make mistakes and not be hung out to dry
And
for
apologize.
them and apologize. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like now you say something goofy and eventually it might catch up to you. And you're just trying to be funny as a kid on
Oh,
Twitter or Instagram or whatever,
yeah.
you know, and that's the unfortunate thing for kids, um, is that
It makes them too fucking cautious.
they have so much, yeah, they have so much more information, but the leash is so much shorter.
We didn't have a leash.
We didn't.
We had, you know, when you got home, you knew what was up.
Yeah,
Fuck, the
we
whole
had
town
street
did.
lights. If the street light was on and you weren't home yet, you're probably in trouble.
Well, you know, growing up, there's this guy, and he's somewhat famous around here. He's actually a preacher now. I don't want to blast people off, but you know, his name's Jeff Papinga, and he's just a contributor.
Yeah.
But he and I grew up together, and his wife. God, there's another just a genetic better person.
Yeah.
His wife's badass. Her mother and father are badass. I mean, it's just incredible. Anyway, we looked alike when we were kids, and we had Betty, the yard lady, like in second grade, would be smoking, blowing the whistle, and she called me Jeff. She's like, "Jeff, get over here, Papinga," over here, and I was like, yelling at me, and I found out that people mistook us,
Yeah.
and that led me on almost like 12 years of people are like, "What is your name?" I'm like, "Jeff Papinga." And, I never gave him a second thought. I never answered to that. And then flash forward, my mother's having like her 75th anniversary. He's a musician and everything too. He was doing, side gigs or whatever. And, we're sitting at the table. I was like, "Yeah, the craziest thing, I used to tell people I was you." And he's like, "Holy shit,
That was
bro."
you?
People would show up to their house or whatever and like, "Yeah, your kid threw an orange at my car," or whatever. And they're like, and and back in the day, the adults were the final say.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, "I didn't do it." And they're like, "Mr. Carter said you did,"
Yeah.
And then especially for the adult, they're like, "No, that's him," and now that I've, I got Miles on me, he looks great. We're the exact same age. And, uh, people are like, "Oh, you guys look like each other." I don't see how that happened. But, you bring out the early pictures
Yeah.
and it's dead nuts, and I was like, "God damn, that couldn't have happened anywhere else really, except in this type of environment,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah. It was a great time, though.
It
It
was.
was a great time.
Striped shirts, you know what I mean?
Hey, let me ask you this. If you could go back and talk to your 30-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
It's tough because I'd have to quit talking. You know what I mean? That's it. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Do more than say.
Yeah.
I just always have been afraid that I was going to be wrong.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I've done has been because it happened right then.
Yeah.
But as far as planning and doing that, there's a lot to it. And I would say that practice is real. As much as I'm like, "Fuck this, let's do it. Let's do it."
Yeah.
I think, so going back, this is probably the best segue. I did serve time
Yeah.
of, basically I got, was someone that was on drugs that found you could get them cheaper if you go wholesale and got in trouble for that. Plain and simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like to say I got a master's degree in civil discourse at San Quentin. There was because you want to see white privilege disappear, show up.
I mean,
And I didn't know the whole clique thing. I was like 34, 35. I don't even know. I was probably 30. I was older.
sure.
They didn't know what to do with me. And I look at that as probably not the, like, "Oh, it's the greatest time ever." But as far as a reset, there was that. And then I
It's a
met this
definite
Buddhist
lesson.
dude. His name's Adi Ashante. He's out of like Marin or something. And he pretty much set me straight. He just straight up, he's like, "Quit telling your story." And I was like, I super love telling my story and I love my voice, and he's like, "Yeah, but you got to start doing some shit." And
Yeah.
that was part of the thing of getting into construction, go to work every day.
Yeah.
You know, that that part of it, I still, talk hella shit, but the contribution thing. And I was, my town opened up to me because, I mean, I'm sure there's still people that think I should just get hit by a bus, you know what I mean? But and I deserve it, but there's no better scrutiny or transparency than what I have, because people are like, oh, that's crazy. You know, they will watch you closer than anything. And,
Yeah.
like our local newspaper used to come at me pretty hard. And, so I started writing a local article for that too, though. And,
Oh,
and I respect what they're saying. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I get it. They're like, well, why would you let him on that? Especially when I first got on the recreation and parks rec and trees, because I'm a big park guy.
Yeah.
And, so, there was some graffiti, we'd have our own park, and I'm like, look, I'm not going to discourage our local artist. You know what I mean? If it's like kill Sammy, yeah, we got to get rid of that. But I mean, you can't, just say just because you don't like it, no shit. But dude that painted that, chick that painted that, they felt it. And
Yeah.
that part I think that I did bring, and people like, people think you don't go through hardship, but you have to remember, and there's another thing, like the two judges that sentenced me, I didn't learn the first time around, so I was, but I, I consult with them all the time, see them. I love them, they had disdain in their voice when they sentenced me. They were
Yeah.
upset with me. And that is just as encouraging as someone saying, I knew you could make it. They're disappointed.
Yeah.
And, I, I value that though. You know, I know I talk to Judge Stearman all the time, and
Yeah.
he has no problem setting me straight. I get a little out of hand with my ideas, but you know, when I have a problem, I'll call him, no problem. And
Yeah.
there's kind of a funny story about it, because my dad always told me never let anybody call you Tommy. He just didn't like that. I don't know why
Yeah.
he said it. Lucky enough, I grew up with a guy named Tommy, and my whole life. So he was Tommy, I was Thomas. Never had a
Yeah.
problem with it. But I'll call Judge Tiernan's house, and Mrs. Tiernan does not like to be called Mrs. Tiernan. Anyway, she's like, Judge, it's Tommy Roach on the phone. And so anyway, my wife is like, I noticed you don't say any shit to him about calling you Tommy. I'm like, you're right. But it's one of those things, it's heartfelt from him. And
Yeah.
I remember when I first ran into him, he says this story different than me. Fundraiser, you're at the thing. And I saw him, and I can't avoid him. But I, went up to him and I just, hey, I want to say thank you. You always cared about me. You know what I mean? And he truly did. And the rest of our community too. I mean,
Yeah.
there's people straight up disagree with him, but he cares about you.
Yeah.
The end result is what he wants a better community. And he's, we talk about it all the time. He's like, yeah, I didn't think you'd ever make it back. You know what I mean? And, even our local, district attorney was, his name was John Pointer, we had disagreements, but he was like, I gave you up totally, because I was deceptive in my shit, like I was not, a contributor to society, but
Yeah.
I wanted to be a part of the community. And,
Yeah.
the part of it that when you come back and people are willing to give you a chance is big, you know what I mean? That saves you.
Yeah.
And then, you build on it and everything. And also I do feel though, it is the caring of the people. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
truly want you to do well. And
Yeah. Like if you think about it, if your neighbor is struggling and is not doing well and is not a constructive part of society, and you're letting them struggle and you're
right,
letting them do, what's that say about you?
that's it.
And why would you complain about your neighbor instead of just looking over the fence to say, hey, is there anything I can do? Like to bring a little clarity to our relationship. I just met Thomas, but I saw that there was a grassroots candidate that you're up against some dudes with some dough.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And my
yeah,
instinct was to reach out to you and say, Thomas, I see that you're running for office.
yeah.
Like, come talk to me. Come share with me some of your ideas because I know that it would help you.
Right.
And you're up against one dude that has $1.5 million and another one that has $1.6 million.
Right. And I think you'll see in reporting, I'll guarantee you, Eric spent like 3.2 of his own money. And then you look
Yeah.
at what his other dudes have given him.
Yeah.
That's like 5.6 million he's going to spend on this campaign is what that's my guess. I told you I throw out numbers, but,
Yeah.
and Thompson's probably right at $2 million. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They're a little more efficient,
Yeah.
but, you
Well,
know,
Thompson's been in office for what, 15 years now?
no, way longer. 27, I think.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Hey, I got to open this gate for my dog real quick. Let me scoot back. Oh,
Okay.
Carmelito.
But yeah, Thomas is going up against
Oh,
the up and comer. We talked about,
yeah, I'm not sure exactly when he got in, but
yeah,
I
so
think it's like 27 years or something like that.
and so he's, a lot of the grassroots candidates that come on this channel, we get to talk about their experiences running and everything. And they talk about how if you're an established candidate, an incumbent, all these things, the road for you is way easier than if you're a Thomas type. You're a
Yeah.
grassroots candidate.
Oh, totally.
You don't have, how many millionaires do you have in your back pocket? Probably none.
Yeah.
And you're going up against these
Well,
guys
it's
that are
in,
well funded. So
in saying that though, I've had incredible support and guidance, but there's the same thing I told you earlier. I am different in my house than I am in public. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
everyone is. Everyone is.
exactly. You know, there's
Uh-huh.
a duality to it, the multiple personality thing. That's all real shit.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the final core of who we are, similar to my Adi Ashante buddy, his little hippie ass showed up at San Quentin. God bless him though. You know what I mean? He went in there. It's a shitty ass place and to help people, and he helped me.
Yeah.
And when we look at that in the core, so Calusa has a high wealth aspect to it.
Yeah.
You know, you have people that have, uh, you know, I not, you know, they're not super billionaire type thing, but let's just say, you know, in the tens of millions,
Sure.
uh, you know, and they work hard and you know, I mean, like it's
Yeah.
not some gift, but so when you look at contributions, when I first started my, you know, like I'm going to do this, everybody said, well, you have to raise this much money by this time. I was like, no, you don't. We're just trying to find an idea here. So I've had these people, you know, and it's not like I super hang out with them, but I know them. So I white
Sure.
up to them. Hey, this is what I'm doing. But let's just give it a broad thing. So let's say someone aims like they have 6,000 acres of almonds for the rest of the world.
Mm.
Uh, 14 years ago, they were making millions off of that. So they have cash and, you know, but times are tough with farming right now.
Yeah.
You look at grapes is a perfect thing for the Sonoma Napa people.
Yep.
Uh, you know, but the idea and what I was talking about of having the foundation be our middle class, and really, it's not the middle class. It's focus on family, focus on community. That encompasses what is good for the country.
Mm-hmm.
That resonates. And people that you know, and I'm not their accountant. I don't know how much money they have, but they got a shitload of money and, you know, they would be considered super wealthy. They agree. And that's the thing. They don't want to be known for their money
Yeah.
and they give money. And I do want to give a little shout out to James Gallagher out of, he's running in District 1. You know, he's a
Mm-hmm.
good ass dude. And, you know, going back to Eric Jones, he's a good ass dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're putting their neck out, and nothing against Mike Thompson, but it
Right.
is time to pass the baton.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. We should have term
Come
limits.
live
That's
by the
another thing.
rules.
God damn, we need to
Come
bring
live
up.
by the rules that you set. That's how I see it. I think I don't think I don't think it's a good idea to have career politicians that are making rules. Well, they make money by passing the rules that someone else wrote. And then you're um you're protected from the rules that you've made because you're in the cool kids club getting paid from all the people that are
Right.
shuffling money back and forth. I think it would be helpful to give folks, you get to run a handful of times, 2-3 times. You get to office for however many years.
No, I agree
And then you
100%.
get to come and you get to live in the environment of rules that you created.
Right.
That way you
Well,
can see if your dumbass rules have actually helped or hurt.
that's the thing. I look at, so like I was talking about earlier, the villainization of certain groups or whatever, that
Yeah.
whole deal. So there is a structure that people use to define, the villain.
Uh-huh.
And if you flip that around on yourself, all of a sudden now there's this, oh, I got a coupon for that or whatever. Same thing with the people that are in charge. If you're going to make rules, you have to live by them.
Yeah.
And the trading thing is the craziest shit ever. The no term limits is the craziest shit ever. It's the craziest shit ever.
Anywhere from the Supreme Court on down.
It's the craziest shit ever. And that the whole what is good for thee but not for thou. I don't know the fucking quote, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's the epitome of it. And so going back to the people that are running for office and doing it, I have a respect for them.
Yeah.
But I go to other people's events just to hear them, and I want to meet them and I want to tell them, look, I'm supportive. If you're trying to do what I'm trying to do, dude, you got my vote. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to tackle anybody. So especially, I see some of the ads that are running against Eric Jones.
Yeah.
That is some piece of shit moves, whoever does that. And I'm not saying, but calorie dense person needs to be punched in the face, 100%.
Yeah.
If that's what you think is your contribution, something, I don't know. Now we go into love the bully. So fuck, now I need to pray for the person and be nice to him. Something's up though. But to treat another guy another person that way because you're running against them. Have you seen those ads? Like, they show him, he's like, oh, he fucking helped sexual predators. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
I haven't seen
know
those.
why you would ever do that.
Yeah. That's very strange.
That type of ad campaign. So if you're going to have a rule, and then you're like, oh, I think we should all be nice and work together. What the fuck was that thing then?
You just got done shitting all over me.
You just got done saying this dude like baby rapes, the worst things you could say about someone. And I got to say though, oh, I hate to be, appreciative of meanness, but they have him with like this wine glass glass, he's like, ha ha ha, the perfect, it's like they put white privilege and I don't know truly, Eric Jones's ethnicity, but it's like they painted him with
He's
that
just a
one thing
normal
of,
American dude from Maine.
yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
He's a nice
But,
guy.
that's the part that I don't like about where we are,
Yeah.
that this guy's a do or die guy or whatever,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I feel for everybody. I think I can. Can you turn my volume up?
No, you're
I
good.
can't
I can hear
all
you
of a
just
sudden.
fine. Can you hear me okay?
I can't hear you at all. Did I mute you or something? I may have touched something, but, I can't hear you at all.
All right, let me
Oh,
see
hold
if
on.
I can. How about now? Test,
No.
test. Testing, testing.
Oh, we're
You
in
there?
business. Yeah. I don't know why that happened.
Huh.
I almost want to say it's something in my ear. No, I could hear you beautifully now.
All right,
But,
cool.
that whole thing of, this is how we should operate, and then we don't operate that way, I think is the part that people are having trouble with politics. I'll get
Yeah.
I think people never felt part of it. That's where Trump came in and, he brought people in. I worked with, oh God, I love that shit. Cause I do, at work, we talk shit. And this guy's like, Hillary Clinton was the worst Secretary of State ever. And he said it with conviction. Like I think he slammed something down when he said it. I was like, fucking name two others. Silence. I was like, anybody in this whole room, name a Secretary of State. And this one cat, I knew he wanted to say it, but now you could see, man, if you bring up a Secretary of State, you're almost, on the wrong side. Not, that they don't want to be on my side, but,
Yeah.
we'd rather just laugh at Roach for a second, only nerds know that. And finally, dude said, he goes, Madeleine Albright. And I was like, yeah, famous. Condoleezza Rice, but I
Colin
enjoy
Powell.
reading.
There's a lot of them.
I know. I grew up with Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, dude. I read the San Francisco Chronicle. I think
Yeah.
I'm older than them, but dude, both were rock stars.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. You want to talk all your shit about, oh, fucking she did this, he did this. But
Why don't people like Gavin Newsom?
God, I could easily say that both of them, something happened.
Yeah.
They're not the same that they were. They
Is
say
that right?
things that I know it's fucking right. I don't know how it happened, but they drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh,
Especially Kamala, dude. I expected her to really excel as vice president, like be in front, almost like people would say, hey, tone your shit down.
yeah.
I never saw her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. She was.
She and Gavin were rock stars growing up. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, man. They were rock stars in that San Francisco scene.
Yeah.
And then something happens so that we could go to that. Why do we spend more money than we have every year? Why? Nobody agrees to that shit, but every year we do it. So what
And
happened? Where does that? What happened?
we
You know what I mean?
we keep spending money, and like I said earlier, like it never really reaches the problem.
No. That's
And the heartbreaking thing is, we have, I think California's approach to things, I think makes a lot of sense. That I live in California because I choose to live in California.
yeah. I like
I've
it
lived
here.
everywhere. I've lived everywhere, but I choose to live here because it's beautiful and because the people are wonderful and all the wonderful things that you hear about California. But the thing is, when you get into California politics, well, politics in general, and you
Yeah.
see that they're taking a lot of money and things aren't, the things that we want to get better aren't being addressed.
No, never. It's what's the thing? SPCA, United Way, all those things.
Yeah.
When we audit those people, fucking 2% is, they buy some shoes for 3 people. And they're
Yeah.
flying like private jets everywhere. So there's the
Or
problem,
making
though.
social media posts, like,
But what do we do about that? Because my first initial emotional response, we need to remove those people. And I mean in a not pleasant way. You know what I mean? They need to be gone.
yeah.
And I think then that, because when I was locked up, I wrote a little paper about removing people such as myself from society, because death row was still there. They were
Yeah.
thinking about, often people. So that has to be brought up in some sense. How do we remove the continuous non-contributor, the one that
Yeah.
detracts?
Yeah.
Like, they talk about fraud, they whatever. I'm happy for the guy Shirley or whatever, Matt Shirley or whatever, the guy goes, there's supposed to be a kindergarten with 7,000 kids here, and there's not. Hey, I'm down with you. You know what I mean? Fucking do your gig. But the sad thing is, in order to operate a normal doctor's office, commits fraud. You come in there and you're like, hey, my ear hurts. Okay, we're going to send you to these 3 people. because that's the way they build a system.
Yeah.
So we have it's not absolute corruption, but there's a corrupting element to everything we do.
Yeah.
And if we're willing to accept it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if welfare fraud stays under 7%, fuck, I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go spend 80% to catch 7%.
When it comes to fraud, if you look at technology, Thomas, when's the last time you were able to write a check 50 cents over the balance that you had in your bank account? They don't let you do it.
Yeah, I don't.
They don't let you do it, right?
No.
So
they fucking know, even if I think about it.
Yeah. So we have the technology to keep you from writing bad checks and keep you so you can track your finances and stuff. But when it comes to the most important financial expenditure, the government, we don't have the checks and balances. We don't have a way to make sure that the money goes from my pocket to the government to actually fixing schools, to actually fixing homelessness, to actually supporting the people, to make the people successful. And that's, I call bullshit. When it comes to us breaking the rules, they have the cameras and they have police and they have all the things. But when it comes to politicians breaking the rules and they're not doing their work, last year they worked, 147 days? The House of Representatives works 147 days. When's the last time, Thomas, that you went to work at a construction company and you only worked 147 days and they kept you around?
Right. Our calorie
and you had your money in the
theory.
cookie jar.
Yeah.
And you had
as my days off, I was getting paid to say nice things. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
So the density of what you're saying is absolutely true. Like I said, Elon's over here catching rockets and
he's a moron.
Firing 90% of his people.
Moron.
You know what I mean?
He's so
yeah, you're right. It's the whole thing's available. Why don't we put one of those flock cameras on our Pentagon guys? You know what I mean? You could read my goddamn license plate. So you're absolutely right.
Everyone in government gets a bank card, and we get to track what the hell you're spending it on.
So there's two things. Cambridge Analytica. Remember when they laced up with Facebook?
Yeah.
They're stealing all the, So the guy that wrote or drew the maps, look, I admire these people that get down, they're doing it. But somehow he has 60 data points on every household in California, and he sells that software.
Yeah.
And the same thing, what you just said. So now that we know that, what are we doing? So let's just stop. And there's the thing. And, how do we handle the people that are just looking at us like, they're like me when Mrs. Helliker would come up to me and they're like, okay, Thomas, just waiting for you to quit talking. Okay. They will outweigh us. And I think of the Israelis, when they lit up all those people that I don't even know what the group was, but they gave them all pagers. Like, what do they give them for Christmas? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Remember that? Come on, man. If that's available to us, this is where we get crazy with the whole thing. And this is what they hope, that we'll quit talking about what you just brought up. Because I was just going to say, look at the Ukrainians and their drones. Now people hire Ukrainians to fucking build drones.
And they even have drones that go underwater, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they're doing that because they have to defend themselves, because
for sure
people don't know how to keep their hands to themselves.
And now we've already quit talking about how our fucking homeless money just lined somebody's pockets.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, though. You know what I mean? We just fucking skipped it, because it's fun, though. And that's, so going back to the paper I wrote when I was locked up, I said, if you've committed 3 felonies on the next one, they should, remove us, kill us. You know what I mean? Let's put the machine, you got this fucking death penalty machine over here, costs millions.
That would suck to get killed for stealing 3 cars, though.
Yeah, fuck it,
But
Yeah, yeah. Hey, so this play that I'm writing about our local fucking thing, one of it is, what does a couple mean to you? So my friend we're talking about, and he says, yeah, I stole a couple cars when I was a kid, because his kid just got wrapped up with these other kids, because his
yeah.
kid was like, well, I didn't know it was stolen. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Uh,
It wasn't yours.
and so the thing is like, I was like, dude, your thing looked like your backyard looked like CarMax. I mean, like,
Mhm.
yeah, like 15 cars back there. What's a couple? He's like, well, so that's the thing. Where do we draw the line? So, hey, I met the requirement for that. I would have been, off as well, get rid of
Yeah.
Roach. And, people are like, oh, but look at what you're doing now. Right. But there'll be another one of me. Don't worry about that part. Let's for sure get
Right,
rid
but I
of the
think
bad part.
I think given the right um support and having the right scaffolding for
Yep,
people,
for sure.
it would fix a
I
lot of
agree.
that. Because I'm not I have family members that have been in and out of prison. So your story is not new to me.
Yes.
So I have, because I've been exposed to folks with that don't always make good decisions.
Right.
Nobody does. It's just the severity of the bad decision making process.
Right.
But you have learned things that I would rather listen to and learn from you than have to go through it myself.
I agree.
You know?
But that's like going back to our Ukrainian drone guy. You know, how do you want to learn to get good at making shit and making good decisions? He lost all his family. He saw his city being blown up, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
they're like, adversity breeds a desire to succeed type thing.
And I
And
think, but I think, well supported communities would help alleviate some of that, and
I, I'm
kids
in.
having
Yeah.
something constructive to do,
Right.
you know.
Right.
um what's the saying, idle hands are the devil's workshop or something like
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
right? If we're teaching kids how to build things, how to lay concrete, if we're teaching them how
Absolutely.
to read properly, if we're teaching them,
Yes,
if we're constantly teaching them how to, we're helping them develop the tools that it takes to make good decisions,
I agree. Well, I'll tell
you
you,
know?
there's a perfect example. San Quentin's old as, hella old, they'll just say.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
way old. God almighty, what a shithole. It's funny, the company I work for, we just built a school there, at the old furniture place. They have a whole, they're doing it,
Yeah.
it's coming around. The ideas catch on. But, so it's bars, old school.
Yeah.
And at night, you listen to everybody, and this is the thing. People don't have family and they don't have education, and
Yeah.
it's sad. It's super
Yeah.
sad to hear. That and you gotta click up when you get there, you know what I mean? It's not if you're white, you're just running with the whites type deal, and then there's
Mhm.
substructures of those 2. But,
Mhm.
I didn't know anybody. I didn't my county has nobody there, it
Yeah.
was as a lone type of moment. Uh, and you realize this is what I brought upon myself. And so it
Mhm.
wasn't, I think I learned valuable lessons.
Yeah.
They could have given me less time. I talk to Judge Tiernan about it all the time, but, I could have learned the same lesson in 3 months, I think. But, that point of they don't have education and they, the sad part, they don't feel loved.
Yeah.
It's and there's a time, at night, they call it, the shutdown or whatever. And, each group, it's usually divided by race, I'm gonna say, there's
Mhm.
like 4 groups of each. Anyway,
That's
say
just an
goodnight.
easy line to draw.
Yeah. I think it works like a champ. I'm not you don't have to force on people, but to initially say you're in charge of your people, we're in charge of our people, it
Yeah.
works. But I'll guarantee you the most problems I had was with white people. I never
Oh,
had a
yeah?
problem with a black guy, Mex Oh, I had a neighbor. Because my get down was if the yard jumped off, I'd just punch a black guy, because you had to look good. And, I mean, there was nothing, it never was my problem. But,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like going. And if you're not doing something, it's worse. All the white people, you didn't like get down or whatever.
Right.
And so my neighbor, I walked to breakfast every morning with this guy, C-4, and I always thought he was C-4 for like the explosive. And, I felt bad. I told him I was sorry, but he's like, I can't believe you hit me. I was like, bro, I don't know what to do, dude. I'm alone here. I got to do my thing. But that was my get down, dude. I mean, and that makes it easier. I mean, there is a black and white to it. And when it comes down to it, if you're going to handle your own problems, it is easier, and that
Yeah.
kind of goes back to your community thing. You need the people, that know you or accept you
Yeah.
unconditionally,
Yeah. You hinted at it. You hinted at it earlier when you were a kid. There was teachers and people in the community that would say, "Hey, Thomas, stop
Yes. 100%.
doing that or stop doing that,"
Yeah. And they're always ladies. The dudes were cool, but I'm just saying, I remember Mrs. Regier was one. I won Citizen of the Month once. And
Nice.
yeah, but we had these partitions, that separate our classrooms. And in order to get out at the end of the day, you had to hand in something. I
Yeah.
fucking just bolted to the other. I was like, whatever. And I'll never forget, Mrs. Regier, she was like, you don't deserve this. I was like, yeah, but none of them know it. I'm about ready to go on stage right now. And she reminded me of that all the time. She goes, that's what you said to me. I was like, I know, I'm the one that said it. I mean, like, I was kind of a dick to her, but later on, I did thank her. I was like, you never let me get away with it. And that,
Yeah.
it meant a lot.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Since you've been to San Quentin and I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever visited Alcatraz. What is it about California that they pick some of the most gorgeous terrain to put a prison on?
Well, I think early because, I mean, that shit was abundant when they built those places, whatever,
Yeah.
1848. So yeah. So there you go. It's a perfect example. If I was in charge of California, fucking gonzo I mean, come on. San Quentin's like the most, you got Tiburon or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey,
It's
I'll
a
tell you too.
gorgeous area, but
No,
then
it's
there's like
insane.
this huge,
Right, but back in the day, that shit was abundant. You think if you're a Spanish cat coming in the bay, you're like, holy shit, bro. You can
yeah.
feed some cattle here. You know what I mean? There's grass, you know? I get that part of it, but yeah, someone's got to come to their wisdom on San Quentin for sure. Plus, it's a piece of shit. And that's another thing. So they just spent whatever 12 billion there to build new shit,
Yeah.
schools. Come on, man, move that shit to Lodi or whatever. And not to pick on Lodi, but I'm just saying, fucking yeah, it's right on
So
the
for
bay.
folks that don't know, Lodi is more inland. It's a little more
Hella inland. They grow a lot of grapes, though.
a little more deserty. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty. In fact, everybody that is a farm
And San
kid
Quentin
from
is like
here.
literally on the ocean. It's on the
Yeah,
bay.
it's on the bay, but I
It's
mean,
got a
yeah,
gorgeous view of the city.
Andre Agassi owns a house next to you. So one of my kind of jokes at Christmas, because, whatever. And my family was supportive of me, but they, strongly disappointed. My mom wrote a great letter about, there comes a time when, we have to not care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We care about you. We don't give
Yeah.
a shit about what you're doing, though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so, like writing, uh, writing home during Christmas, stuff like that. It's tough. I feel for, what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the one that did it. So I know,
Sure.
why I'm removed. But I did write one year that I'm still living in a gated community in the Bay Area. And it's one of those things. It's like,
That's outstanding.
yeah, I mean, it works.
I'm still living in this gated community on the bay.
Yeah.
That's outstanding.
And it's weird, that's another thing. So I had a guy show up too from Calusa. And he's like 2 years older than me. And I
Yeah.
used to go to all the classes to get out of my cell and stuff. You know what I mean? You go to, and if you're not mandated to go to a class, there's fucking huge logic coming from what people are trying to help you. That's how I
Mm.
met that guy, Adi Ashante. I was going to a parenting class,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady's like, "Hey, you should come hear this guy speak." And whatever, ego is a weird thing. I went in there with a bad attitude, but I
Mm-hmm.
went because I wanted to kiss ass to this lady, so she'd get me something later in life or something, I
Sure.
guess, but he set me straight so instantly that I was like, "Whoa, you are onto something." My whole thing was like, "What's this whole emptiness you fucking Buddhist hippies talk about?" And he's like, "Oh, it's simple. Shut the fuck up." He didn't say it that way,
Yeah.
but he's like, "Quit telling your story." And I was like, he's got me. I wanted to punch him. That's how serious it was.
Yeah.
But I used to go to those classes to get out of my thing. So anger management was one of the best ones ever, because I had a cellmate that was he's mandated to go.
Yeah.
He's just, "I'm going to kill everybody here." And I'm like, "Bro, we just learned about this." But I show up at this parenting class and there's a guy from Calusa there. He ran with the Paisas or whatever, just regular Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
no gang affiliation. And he looks over at me and I was like, "Oh, fuck." I'm like, "Hey, what's up, bud?" And dude like starts on a speech about, he's like, "I just want to say this guy should not be here. He is, and I'm just like, "Hey, I'm running a way harder story than what you're going to fucking say right now, bud." And I couldn't believe it. I was scared,
Yeah.
that I was found out, but that also allowed me to be accepting of that. I was like, "Holy shit, he's right though. I shouldn't be here. I'm the worst piece of shit." I don't have a harmed story. I
Yeah.
mean, I am my problem. You
Yeah.
know, my dad didn't smoke cigarettes and yell at me. What I mean? And I hate to, be mean to smokers, but, I did associate that with a rough parent, you know,
Yeah.
"Come on, God damn it,"
That story's told a bunch of different ways where
Yeah,
dad was out getting his ass whipped by society and
yeah, the
he's a
double job.
smoker and
Yeah,
he comes home and he's not feeling cheery.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's, because I kinda laid that out there when I was there, like, "Oh, yeah, it's fucking tough." I think at Dave Chappelle when he said he was hanging with whoever, like Nas or whoever. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we grew up in the projects." And, he didn't grow up in the projects. And I didn't. I grew up in a, great time, great area, great parents,
Yeah.
great, what I mean? I used to complain that I had to pick walnuts, what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah.
other people didn't have walnut trees type deal.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But like I said, this guy he's a good ass dude though, you know what I mean? Just so, he meant well, but
Yeah.
he's just dumbfounded to see me there. Oh, it's crazy. Oh,
We've been going for 2 hours. I know you
I know. I
have
can't believe it.
graduation things to
Yeah,
get
I do
to.
have to get going.
All right, cool. I just wanted to check in because earlier you said that the graduation and you got
Yeah, thank you
family
very
over
much for
and all
starting me
kinds of
early
stuff.
too. That fucking super saved me because I do have my wife's very understanding, bro. And it's funny.
Thank
So I
her.
was I was
Thank her
doing my
for
thing.
letting me borrow you for a couple
Yo, yeah.
hours.
Well, believe me, you'll hear about it when you meet. Because I said, "Hey, he switched the date. I got to do this, and then I was gonna do a Cat 5 wire, because I was gonna be outside. I'm just trying to be away because we're clean and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, these newer models don't take Cat 5, so I'm like, "Holy shit!" So I had to make sure the router's by the window. And anyway, she goes, "What's the deal with the pressure washer out? What? I thought you said you were done with that." I'm like, "No shit, I'm done with it. Fucking scrambling to do this. You think I'm gonna leave it out in the party, like right in the middle of the backyard?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "I know, move it." I'm like, "I will." And then my daughter has two of her friends here that are just hardcore. We've grown up with these girls our whole lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they don't take shit for, I'm deeply outvoted. It's women against men. Yeah, I'm 1 against 5 here, but they love it.
It's 3-1.
Yeah.
Or
My
no, a
thing when
couple
they
is
were
four to
kids, I
one.
used to say, "Hey, don't be dumb." They'd come in crying. I'm like, "You want some? Don't be dumb." And so
Yeah.
that is now full circle. That's all they say to me all the time.
That's
So I'm
outstanding.
like, "God, what happened to this?" "I don't know. Don't be dumb." I'm like, oh. But going back to it, Carlos, I do appreciate what you're doing. Like we were talking about subsidization. You are contributing to what you want to see in the world, and it's
Exactly.
appreciated. I wish,
And
I would have answered you sooner. You know what I mean? And I'd love to come on again. Let's talk about something else.
oh yeah,
So,
definitely.
but
Definitely.
it is appreciated. You are, a true contributor, and I look forward to the edited version, dude, because it's
Oh, it's not edited. I'm gonna
it's
I'll
straight up
do
on
a
this.
yeah. I do a recorded intro that explains who
Yeah,
you are, and then I just let it ride out. You know, it's
I think that's
I
beautiful. Then,
want people to meet the real person,
yeah,
not just a talking head that's gonna talk shit for 5 minutes.
yeah,
I want
and
them to
condense
see
it.
that Thomas Roach comes from Calusa and he's got real people problems and he's
Yes,
leveraging that to tell the world and
that
to help.
no, that is my experience. Because I've had that. People are like, "Well, what experience you have?" Fucking, I'm
Boy,
here.
do I have
That
experience.
my experience. What are you fucking downplaying my experience? And
Yeah,
I do believe that you have to consult people that are better than you at certain things. You know what I mean? I don't,
100%.
I don't catch rockets. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I'll go out there. I'll try to catch one. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
I'll
So
talk to
it
people
is
who catch
appreciated.
rockets. That's no problem.
Fuck yeah. I mean, I love shit like that. And we do have a better generation coming, I think. I'm the guy, I
100%.
want to go to Congress and be the guy that chops the weeds on the side of the trail and we're going to blaze it. But the people paving it
Yeah,
are behind us and they're
yeah.
smarter than us. They're harder workers and they're better understanding.
And they're just proof. They're proof that
Yeah.
if you invest
Oh my God. That's so true.
in them and you invest in the education, they're going to leverage it to make the world a better place.
It is.
It's no harder than that. It's been
No,
proven over and over and over
exactly.
again. Go to the rich schools, go to the rich neighborhoods and take a look at their schools and tell me that investing in education doesn't make everything better.
No, exactly.
You know?
That's the truth. Well, I look forward to speaking to you again.
Same here, Thomas.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Take a couple minutes and let people know where they can find you online if they want to follow up with your campaign, where they can
Yes.
find you and your final pitch.
Okay. Well, I wish to be represented, as myself. And I think that in itself represents, a lot of us in our district. I wish I would have shortened my name on my Instagram page, but it is Tax Less, More Austerity. I mean, it's almost like a Greek last name. I could have just called it like TRP or something. My daughter pointed that out to me, but I had felt that we could have, a true grassroots, movement. And I
Yeah.
think that it is felt across the United States that we have to take care of ourselves in the same way that we treat our family, treat our community. So I've benefited from that. I wish it to be promoted. I know it works. So I wish the best for everybody. I think you have to support, and whoever does win this election, let's support that person and express our ideas to it.
Yeah.
Let's be done with the fighting or whatever you want to call it. Let's be pleasant. Let's be purposeful. So thank you very much, Carlos. Thank you. I do appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And again, thank you um for showing that normal people can stand up and say we can do this better.
Yeah. The next one's going to be, I like to be weird though, but the next person's going to be not a politician. Guarantee it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're done with that shit. I do
Yeah.
support Eric Jones in his endeavors. I think, he's stepped out there. I don't appreciate, what attack ads and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let the guy do his thing. He's doing it. And same thing
Yeah.
with, another person from our area, James Gallagher. That guy's contributing. So support people that contribute. Let's not be detractors. But vote for
Yeah.
Roach. Fucking don't you have to talk about either one of those guys. But thank you very much. I do appreciate it. We are going to make this a better place. It's our job. And it's something that I value as a responsibility.
I love
So
it.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right on.
And with that,
Appreciate it. How do we
everybody,
hang up on each other?
I'll hang up right now. Hang on. And with that, everybody, we're out.
Right on. Thank you very much.
coconut, trust